Hi everyone, I'm Akshay Sharma from Sonatype Security Research, and what a week it's been in InfoSec land. Multiple open source security stories surfacing this week. Let's go over some of them. One of the reports I covered yesterday is about Linux banning University of Minnesota from committing to their project ever again. That's right, in a rare groundbreaking decision, Linux project maintainers have decided to ban University of Minnesota from contributing to the open source project ever again. And this move came because some University of Minnesota researchers were caught submitting buggy patches on purpose to the Linux mailing list. And these patches actually were designed to deliberately introduce security vulnerabilities. According to the researchers, this was a part of their research that tested how one could introduce buggy patches in open source ecosystem. But not everyone has received this well. And there are concerns whether this can be considered ethical or not. Just to be safe, Linux kernel project maintainers have decided to revert any and all code commits ever submitted from this university, whether these were legitimate or not. So yeah, all those comments will be discarded just to be safe. Uh, this has sparked a huge debate. But what I'm especially shocked by here is the social engineering aspect of it. I mean, any system which is open to good guys, it's also open to adversaries. And this is the key challenge we are seeing lately with open source ecosystems, that everyone's welcome to contribute. How do you tell, who's a good person, who's not, and who's a gray hat somewhere in between? I mean, if I was a project maintainer, right, and a few volunteers from a university, they offered to contribute their bug patches, obviously your guard goes down. You kind of believe that this is a credible entity, reputable, submitting patches. Obviously, they're doing it in good faith. But in this case, that was not quite the case. This incident has exposed the threats to open source software and supply chain security, and just what you need to look out for, because no book will teach you this really, right? It's something that kind of comes with experience. I feel like a lot of people are shocked, and like the Twitter thread is full with comments just moving everybody who saw this news. So moving on, in another news, a security vulnerability, a remote code execution was identified in CocoaPod's dependency manager. As you know, CocoaPod's dependency manager is used by a lot of iOS apps, used by Apple users, of course. So what happened was this vulnerability was introduced on the server in around June 2015, according to a news report. And the vulnerability itself is that an attacker could have crafted a malicious package and uploaded it to the CocoaPods repository, which would then run arbitrary code on the servers managing the repository. So again, like the arbitrary code could have replaced existing packages or tampered with packages, like such as iOS apps and Mac apps, which are used by millions of people worldwide. So again, the bug was introduced in June 2015. It's not until now that it's been squashed. Now, so far, there's no evidence that this vulnerability was exploited, since when it was introduced in 2015 up until now. But just imagine any adversary getting their hands on it, whether it's an APT group, a state-backed actor, just how much havoc they can cause, by altering with millions of apps and secretly injecting their malicious code that gets distributed to like millions of users. So this shows again the importance of knowing what's inside your code and devising novel approaches, because the traditional approach to being aware of known vulnerabilities and patching them, that's kind of fading away. Now we're seeing more 0 days, we're seeing malware injected in legitimate code, we're seeing social engineering, what happened in here, like the Linux and University of Minnesota case. So these are the new kinds of software supply chain attacks to watch out for, where attackers are not just waiting to exploit known vulnerabilities, they're using other tactics. And finally, moving on to the Homebrew news. Homebrew, as you know, it's a popular package manager used on Apple Mac OS devices. Homebrew just released a security incident disclosure notice yesterday, which says that they identified a vulnerability, which was responsibly reported to them. And basically, this would let an attacker merge pull requests automatically using a flawed GitHub action. You can read the report here. I'll just summarize it, but the Homebrew, they're calling it a security disclosure, but really it's a vulnerability that was discovered. And, just as a POC exploit, the researcher demonstrated to them the impact of this vulnerability by compromising a single task with a harmless change. And there's no action required by users. It's all sorted now. But just like three big InfoSec stories, one after another, and this happened just after the recent CodeCov attack coverage. shows you that the attacks on open source security are, realistic. They're here to stay, they're growing and evolving. These novel approaches, for example, if somebody injects malware in your code, like I know Sonatype's been doing this for the longest time, release integrity, scanning NPM components with malicious code inside it, proactively flagging these components and keeping you safe. But again, I just want you to think the novel approaches for yourself, whether you use automation, any product, or manual solution. Because attacks like these, again, like with dependency confusion, one that we covered, right? Like even with an SBOM or software bill of materials, it's very hard to tell whether you're using good dependency or bad one because both share the same name. But by using a multi-layered security approach, like you can call it DevSecOps defense in depth, if you will, combining automated malware detection technology with best DevOps practices and with Nexus Firewall, Nexus Container in your cloud instances, I feel like a lot of these attacks that we have seen lately, they can be like deterred, detected, and prevented in time before they escalate further. Different teams at Sonatype are continuing to monitor the latest software supply chain attacks, and please feel free to get in touch with us should you have any questions or concerns.